how I went from being a local therapist to a coach with amazing global clients. Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins. I'm a professional psychologist, and like me, you may have gotten into the mental health field because you have a desire to help people. And like me, you may not have been informed of other ways that you can help people in bigger and better ways. I made the transition from being a therapist to being a coach, and you can too. Now, a little disclaimer right up front, because some of my colleagues feel like I left the tribe or that I'm selling out to become a coach when I am actually a licensed and trained psychologist fully capable of doing therapy. Let's take a look at the mental health spectrum first. If you put your mental health on a spectrum or a continuum, and clear over here on the left end is the sick end, that's where we have diagnosis, pathology, treatment. I'm really more excited about the other end of that spectrum. And to understand that, let's go to the middle first. Okay, the middle, health. You'd think health is the opposite of sick. I'm putting it in the middle, meaning not sick. You could be sick, in bed, with a fever, thrown up. There comes a time you can get out of bed and you're not sick. But that doesn't mean you're truly fit, thriving, prospering. That's on this other end of the spectrum. My previous practice of therapy focused on this end of the spectrum. My current practice of coaching focuses on this end of the spectrum. And there's some overlap in the middle, because everybody's got issues. Have you noticed? But a lot of common human experiences that we have right here in the middle of the spectrum, like depression and anxiety and relationship issues and life purpose conflicts, all of those things happen here in the middle of the spectrum. It doesn't mean that you're sick necessarily. It probably means that you're human. Welcome to Earth. And we can deal with those problems or issues in the same way that we deal with things on the left end of the spectrum. Those same principles can take us to the right end of the spectrum, where we can have a truly prosperous, thriving life. So therapy is here, coaching is here, and there is some overlap in the middle. But I think it's that overlap area that caught my attention, because I think there's an underserved population right here in the middle. You know, unfortunately, the term psychotherapy sounds a little like therapy for psychos. And people will avoid it or not sign up for help that they legitimately could use because it's stigmatizing, or there's taboos around that make it a little less accessible to people, especially here in the middle of the spectrum. The people on this end of the spectrum are getting their therapy, and people over here are hiring coaches like crazy, but we've got some underserved folks here in the middle, and that caught my attention. Now, I told you earlier that I'm a professional psychologist. I got a PhD in clinical psychology clear back in 1995 from Brigham Young University, and I then became licensed and credentialed to practice psychology, which includes diagnosing and treating mental illness. I did that for about 15 years in a traditional psychotherapy practice. But there were a lot of things about my practice model that made it difficult for me to really serve and help people the way that I wanted to. Insurance, for example, who's usually paying the bill, or regulations and restrictions on how we can practice. I also found that I was really good helping people get out of bed so they weren't sick anymore. And at that point, usually the third-party payers, typically insurance companies, would pull the plug on it and say, oh, it's no longer medically necessary. And so they no longer fund it, even though I and my clients both knew that there's more. There's more available on the positive end of that spectrum. It's just not covered in therapy. So that got me thinking. Now, the other problem that I ran into was economic. I had a busy practice. I was booked out solid for 5 months. You couldn't even get an appointment with me. I had a waiting list, and yet I had negative cash flow for 2 quarters in a row. Now, I don't know how you do your math, but for me, that's unsustainable. I can't keep doing that. It was costing me money to keep my practice open. And what's up with that? Well, there's a lot of reasons for it, but what I finally realized is I wasn't in the right model for the way that I really felt called to help people. And one of my trusted friends and colleagues told me, Paul, you need to create more value for more people. And I was a little offended at first, actually. I'm like, well, I'm doing a good job. I'm a good psychologist. I'm really helping people. And it was true. But what he said was true also. I need to do a better job helping more people. I need to create more value for more people. Well, how's that done? For me, I had to stay in that place where I was having that negative cash flow long enough to really feel the pinch. It was upsetting to me because as a professional, I expected to be able to make a living. But because of the practice model and working with third-party payers and everything else that was contributing the economy at the time, everything tanked for me. And I had to take a hard look at what it is that I'm doing. I knew that I couldn't give up on helping people. That's what I feel called to do. But I knew that I needed a different model as well. Have you experienced any of those same things? I would love to know what your experience has been. Go to the comments below and just let me know if you've experienced some similar things or if it's been a little different for you. Either way, those who are in the mental health industry, I think, are really choice people who really want to make a difference in the world. But economically, it can become kind of challenging. Did you experience some similar things? In my book, Pathological Positivity, I tell the story of that time in my life when I was having those difficulties. In fact, chapter 1 is titled Lightning Strikes. You know, when you're going along through life and suddenly this thunderous blast of lightning just takes your feet out from under you. And that's what it felt like to me. I knew I needed to figure out a different way to offer services. And that's when I realized that I don't need to change a thing. I need to change a think. Listen to what I'm saying. The circumstances around me aren't what needed to change. What needed to change was my own way of thinking. And some of that came from my training and what I've been trained, taught, and educated to think all of those years growing up as a psychologist. So about 15 years ago, I shifted my practice from the negative end of that spectrum. I say negative end, meaning on our mental health, treating and diagnosing mental illness. And I moved it over to the other end of the spectrum where I work with people who are healthy and well-functioning to help get them out of their own stinking thinking in a way that allows them to live a more productive, prosperous, and joyful life. That's what coaching is all about for me. And now I get to use my sweet therapist skills that I worked so many years to gain and develop in helping people on the other end of the spectrum. And two things happen when you get closer to what you're really designed to do. And this is what I've experienced. The two things are, number one, you love your life. Oh man, I am having so much fun. I love my life as I get to have meaningful conversations with people on that positive end of the spectrum and help them to improve their own lives. That is a kick. Number two is that you generate revenue. And it's really cool to me that the sweet spot is you do what you love for people who love what you do, and you set up an economic exchange for that actually works. I spend a lot of my time now training and certifying positivity practitioners. I can't make you a psychologist. That takes graduate school and licensing and everything else that I went through to earn that credential. But I do train and certify positivity practitioners. If you're a therapist and you're serving your people in a way that is meaningful, you want to keep doing that. But what if you could do it at a higher level for better pay? Wouldn't that be awesome? What if you could do a better job creating more value for more people? That was the dilemma that I was facing, and I was able to find some answers to that. Do you want to see? Do you want to check it out and see if you're ready to make a similar transition? I think I could help you with that. Where I would start is with this assessment. Go to the URL on your screen right now, drpauljenkins.com/PRACTITIONER. Practitioner quiz. Go to that URL. You'll find there a quick assessment that you can do. We're looking at 7 different clarities that people need to have clear in their mind if they're going to move forward and have a successful life coaching practice. You can take those therapy skills that you've learned through a career in mental health and apply it to a practice model and a population that's going to have you having more fun and making more money, actually improving other people's lives. I get really excited about this. Start with the assessment, and I will give you all of the results of that for free so that you can see where you're starting and what might be next for you. I'd love to help you with that process. You can create and live the life that you love, helping other people create and live the life that they love.